Gaetz for 5 minutes.
Admiral Harris, it's great to have you back before the committee. Few people know China's capabilities like you do. When you saw this balloon traversing the continent of North America, what concerned you most?
Yeah, thanks, Congressman. Good to see you again. Well, I mean, the most concern was what was it doing and what information is it getting, and is it itself dangerous? I mean, we don't know. I mean, General Van Herk talked about the possibility that there were explosives on the balloon and all of that. General Hertling talked about whether the balloon was sent up as a ploy to see what we would do. And I think that your comments about it in the media, at least, were some of the best that I read. And that is, would shooting it down give China a sort of pretext for them to do the same thing? We just don't know at the time that it happened. Fortunately, we had time because, I mean, let's face it, it's a balloon. So we had time to think about it, to consider it, to weigh it, and I think most importantly, perhaps not most importantly, but certainly importantly, it gave China a chance to address the issue diplomatically, which they failed to do, to no surprise. So ultimately, the decision was made to shoot it down, and did so in a way that was safe for people and property, and in a way that we could collect the information. It's only in 47 feet of water.
In our limited time, let's bifurcate that, the danger and then the transmission of information. We have the capability to block the transmission of information from the balloon back to China, don't we?
We do.
And in this type of an environment, do you think it's probably likely that we did that?
I would only guess, but I think General Van Herk said that.
Well, you can't see any reason why we wouldn't do that.
Right.
And when it comes to the danger that the balloon poses, are you aware of capability with this type of a balloon system to berth sensors or drones or other hardware or assets?
I'm not, but that's why it's so important to try to collect up all the pieces of this thing to understand. I mean, this thing is huge, right? I mean, the balloon itself is bigger than this room. It's 3,000 or 4,000 pounds of equipment. A couple of buses, I think, is what has been said. So
yeah, I just wonder, like, why would the Chinese use this balloon rather than a satellite system for surveillance? And one thing that presumably a satellite could not do would be berth other sensors or drones. And so just so that it gives Americans comfort, your testimony here is during your time in command, you never were aware of or briefed on a capability that the Chinese had to use a balloon system like that for that type of a proliferation of other hardware or assets.
That's correct. And again, that's why it's so important to collect as much of the balloon pieces that we can to understand exactly what we're dealing with here.
And while
it could very well be also that maybe, I mean, it's just me speculating here because I'm under pressure and I'm liable to blurt out the truth. It could very well be that maybe we've overestimated the capability of Chinese satellites in low Earth orbit.
Well, and you've shared with me that we have the capability to block any transmission of information from the balloon. And while you weren't in the Situation Room while this decision was being made, as you join us today, you can't assess a circumstance in which we would have ever allowed information to be transmitted
I would
back.
think.
And it sort of begs the question, was this a big PsyOp?
Yeah.
Was this an effort by China to see how we would react to something like this that might not have had, the danger that we spoke of because you were not aware of that capability, and then also didn't have an intelligence collection function, and so to others it may have been an effort to try to see how we would react, how we wouldn't react, and then to try to use that to inform their decision making. In my limited time I have left with the Admiral, in the broadest sense, if we had $100 billion to dedicate to the China scenario, in which domain would that be the smartest investment?
It would not be in counter balloon warfare.
I would agree. Would it be space? Would it be cyber, electronic warfare?
I think it would be cyber and space.
And what dividends, if we made a $100 billion investment in cyber, what could the American people expect regarding the enhancement to their safety?
I think we could be assured then that we wouldn't have intrusions intentional or otherwise, from any number of actors, including Chinese.
Well, assured of no intrusions from the Chinese sounds to me like a lot better than sending $100 billion to Ukraine, but that'll be something we'll assess as a team.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Yield back.